Greetings. With a little bit more class. We got this. Okay. I think we're ready. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Madam Carmen's BDSM 101. Today, we're going to talk about sadism. Okay. If anybody knows me personally, or if just people understand what domination kind of consists of, but not exclusively consists of, is me being a sadist. Now, a sadist is someone who enjoys inflicting pain on others, consensually, of course. Those who love to receive that pain are called masochists, but we'll get into that topic another day. Today, we're going to dive into sadism. There's no battle between sadism and masochism. You can actually identify as both. I've personally explored both sides myself, being that I gravitated more towards the sadist side. I understood what being a masochist entails to the certain degree. I am not a heavy masochist, though I am a heavy sadist. Usually as a dom or top or service top, when someone is exploring in their sadistic side, that is usually them topping and inflicting certain pain and sensations on their bottom or submissive. Though I have recently started to explore my limits as a bottom, being someone who is solely practicing BDSM as a dominant or a top, it was important for me to understand what it is that my submissives and bottoms actually experience by being able to put myself in the position of bottoming. Now, although, as I said and mentioned earlier, I'm more so someone who is a sadist, I enjoy inflicting all types of sensations and exploring different sensations with my bottoms and my submissives. I am very well driven and aroused by their responses to those particular sensations and experiences that we enjoy and explore together. So whether I am extremely sadistic or sensually expressive in my dominant energy, my main goal is to bring upon pleasure to my bottoms and submissive. That is what brings me to arousal. Although I am into sadism, there are levels to this shit. Meaning, I am not an extreme sadist. Meaning, I don't always need to inflict pain on my bottoms or submissives for me to receive that pleasure. Although it is pleasurable and it is a pleasurable experience, I know that not all of my bottoms and submissives are masochists or heavy masochists at that. They may enjoy spanking, flogging, crops, etc., but the extreme amounts of pain that can be inflicted through impact play and heavy bottoming, there are limits that each individual are entitled to. I enjoy a firm grip, but also providing a gentle relief. I'm not what the community would consider a pain slut or a heavy sadist slut. Now, for those who are enthralled by the meaning of being a pain slut and those who enjoy slutting them out, this topic of sadism is just for you. Now, as I mentioned before, I consider myself a sensual sadist, and there are levels to sadism. This does not mean that me as being a sensual sadist, that all sadists are sensual sadists. Some sadists are extreme sadists, and they do not require or find themselves appeased or aroused by sensualism. I personally, as Madam Carmen, enjoy sensualism within my sadism. The spectrum is far and wide in the world of sadism, even with having no association to sex or anything sex related. Sadism can be something that we can explore that can bring upon immense amounts of pleasure through those different avenues of pain. The depths of sadism is even more psychological. When we break this down, sadism is not just a physical experience, but more a mental experience. Being able to breathe yourself through those inflictions of sensations and stimulations that may bring upon pain. On one spectrum, we have that sensual sadism. On the other spectrum, we have extreme rack-related sadism. Now, we remember that rack means risk-aware consensual kink. Now, risk-aware consensual kink is our kinks that we explore, that we know that not just me as the top, but my bottom has consented and is aware of the risk that that particular kink may have. The arousal of pain can be expressed by the one receiving this particular pain. So the feeling that is experienced when inflicting the pain alone is what gives you that tingling sensation of arousal and stimulation. That's when you know that you may be diving and delving into the world of sadism. How I personally knew that I was really into sadism was when I started personally exploring different kinks with past partners, and they allowed me to explore their pain threshold as I was exploring these particular kinks. Now, I've had the particular kinks that we participated in was wax play, impact play, sensory deprivation, orgasm control, right? When we participated in impact play and wax play specifically, that was really great. Those were really great kinks to be able to explore, to be able to gauge those pain thresholds. But also, as me exploring what these kinks are and what they mean and how they stimulate me, was when I got to see the squirming of the body when I'm pouring this wax onto their skin, when they make these moaning noises or these squeaking noises or these squealing noises or whining noises. Instead of me finding fear or reluctance in those particular sounds, I found pleasure. I found happiness. I wanted to hear more and receive more of those sounds. So for me, I wanted to inflict more sensation. I wanted to pour more wax, make sure that wax was even warmer. Even sometimes, as far as gauging the skin contact with the wax, even getting closer to the skin versus further away, giving that wax shorter amount of time to cool before it hits the skin. When it came to impact play, I was so aroused in not just the sounds that they made, but the sounds I made with the implements I used, even my hand. Then again, there are some people who lie amongst this entire spectrum of sadism, exploring both and all realms of sadism, including sensual sadism, extreme sadism, rack-related sadism. They explore the whole spectrum. Me personally, I explore the whole spectrum with consent to my bottoms and submissives. Another reason why I and other doms like myself enjoy sadism is because we enjoy being in control. We enjoy being on top. We enjoy having the responsibility to bring upon pleasure and stimulation with our partners. We enjoy that position. Exploring sadism helps us dive a little bit more deeply into that experience and into that sensation that we experience as tops and doms. So the rush I get from punishing my submissives and bottoms is even gratifying. Even knowing that I am correcting their behavior with these particular sensations, it is a pleasure to know that it does cause them some type of discomfort. Even if it's not at the expense of behavioral correction and actually at the expense of someone's pleasure. As a sadist, I still gain and receive so much pleasure in inflicting that pain. I think I experience it and enjoy it more when they enjoy it more. Knowing someone is a pain slut brings me into some sense of arousal before I even inflict the pain on them. Knowing that they could take an immense amount of pain means that it gives me a challenge as a sadist to explore those levels and thresholds of pain. This is usually what's so arousing and pleasurable about power exchange, because we know that both parties and all parties are consenting to these experiences and what they explore. So knowing that I am a sadist and my bottom is a masochist, knowing that my bottom is granting me the consent and giving me the space to explore the amount of pain that I can inflict upon them. This is giving me the opportunity to practice my swing with my floggers. It's giving me the opportunity to see what bodily movements and sensations and squirms and sounds this particular bottom can do, when what I can provide for them as a top, as a sadist. Or even like I said, when it comes down to behavioral correction, it's always wonderful to be able to know that I am teaching, not only teaching my bottoms and submissives lessons and reiterating the protocols and rules that I have set forth. It gives me so much pleasure to see them in that discomfort, to see them squirming and begging and wishing and telling me that, oh, I will never do it again. I won't do it again. I promise I'll behave next time. Oh, I love that feeling. That's that feeling of being in control. But that sadism and that masochism intertwined with the power exchange, such a heavy energy. Sadism can be healing for those who have experienced various forms of trauma, whether domestic, mental, sexual, anything personal. Sadism and masochism can be a healing experience. But as I said before, we're speaking specifically on sadism today. When it comes down to the therapeutic responses that we can receive as a sadist, one being someone who is a sadist, what therapeutic experiences I feel is being able to understand that when someone gives me consent, I'm able to experience the inflicting of pain onto someone. And it can be healing when you're in a great mental space, knowing that you want to heal and overcome from traumas that may have inflicted upon you. That pain is bad. Hitting someone is this negative thing. When we need a certain gateway to release, being a dom, I need to be able to release energy. Always being in control and being in charge and having responsibility to other humans, that can be exhausting. Being able to have that sense of release with that particular partner, with that particular person, with your particular bottom, is a healing experience. Knowing that they're giving you not only that consent, but that trust. Knowing that they trust you into using various implements like this paddle here or my floggers that allow you to inflict those different sensations that can bring upon pain. It can be a gratifying experience when you know they're enjoying it just as much as you are. It's a great way to release that pent-up energy of anger, repression, suppression, grief, sadness, sorrow. When we are in those moments, sometimes we suppress those energies, and we may not feel in those moments all the time, but when we get the opportunity to release that energy, because it's important for humans to heal, by releasing the energy that they are so much suppressing deep within the core of their soul. I think that being able to experience that exchange with someone who trusts me is like not only therapeutic, but it's healing. It is a wonderful exchange with another human. The psychological disorder that a lot of people try to associate with sadism more so has to do with the lack of consent. The beauty about BDSM and kink-related exchanges such as sadism and masochism is the opportunity to consent and grant consent and receive that consent and exchange that consent. And with that consent comes negotiation, explaining and expressing the risks, explaining and expressing the protocols and the practices, and talking about the experiences, the past experiences. How long have you been using these floggers? How long have you had these particular floggers? Not only how long have you had these particular floggers, how long have you been experienced in using these particular floggers on other humans? These are things that you discuss when you're negotiating with another person when trying to match your sadism with someone's masochism. When sadism is consensual and it does include mental torment, it is very important to check in and to watch for specific cues within your particular bottom or your partner. It's really important to understand what those moments of discomfort and disgruntlement are. Are they pleasurable moments of discomfort? Because pain is discomforting, but for some, pain can be releasing, healing, pleasurable. It brings upon happiness. So when we know that there are people who explore pain in that way, it's important to check in with your partner to make sure that they are still consenting to the exchange. Now, how I would, as a sadistic dom, would check in with my masochistic submissive, I would stop using my floggers, look in their face and say, hey, are you still consenting to this? How are you feeling? And usually I've already explained and expressed to my submissives and bottoms prior to Sane that when I ask, how are you feeling? It's not usually a response of good or bad, but green, yellow, or red. I use my traffic light system that we use in the BDSM and kink world to express discomfort, to express joy, happiness, to express checking in, to express maybe adjustment, or just stopping all around. I use those colors when I'm asking and checking in with my bottoms and submissives, especially when I'm inflicting pain on them. Hey, how are you feeling? I'm feeling green. Green to me means that you are not only aware of your surroundings and the question that I asked you, you remembered it, because sometimes we could be forgetful in moments of discomfort or disgruntlement or just things that make us feel in moments of euphoria when a lot of our hormones and endorphins are released. Sometimes when we get into these subspaces, we kind of lose track and focus on what was previously explained to us and expressed to us. That is why it's important that when we are discussing not only the protocols of negotiation and using the traffic safety system, but also implementing safe word protocols too. If we're not using the traffic light system as our safe word protocol, because that's what I use personally, if you want to use a particular word, allow your bottom and your submissives to select that particular word so they can remember it when they are in moments of distress. When they need to utilize that particular word, they can express it and exercise their rights to consent in that scene ethically and consciously. It's also important when establishing a sadomasochistic relationship with a particular play partner. It's important to discuss previous traumas, pre-existing health conditions. Those things are very important, and anything that triggers them. Maybe certain music, certain sounds, certain words, certain cues may be triggering or traumatic for someone in their experience. Don't take it personally. This is why we have these conversations, so we won't be uncomfortable when we are having our exchanges. Once the negotiation and vetting process has been completed, what has been implemented to adhere and uphold what foundational standards and boundaries we have established within those negotiation processes. So once we know what our safe word protocols are, or if we're using the traffic light system, if we know what setting and how long this particular scene is going to be, if we are aware of what the aftercare process is, we can now begin the playtime fun. One may also keep in mind that if this is a new play partner, check in a little bit more. Understand that we can make agreements and set up our negotiation processes and establish our limitations. But once in scene, like I said, once a person's releasing endorphins and hormones during this particular power exchange or just energy exchange alone, it is important to understand that as humans, we are forgetful, we make mistakes, we lose track of time. It is important to hold ourselves accountable for our autonomy, but if you are a dominant, you are not only responsible for your autonomy, you're responsible for the autonomy of yours and your partner and all those in the room in that space. Meaning, so for example, I, as a dom, will have my submissive or my bottom here on this particular bench. I may have an audience amongst me, maybe 2 or 3 people, not many, but you decide to play at a play party into a play space, and a couple of people or a couple or throuple decides that they want to ask you guys consent to watch you play. So for me, I give them the consent, yes, you guys can watch us play. So now that I know that they are aware that I've given them the consent that they can watch, I need to establish the rules and protocols of my space. So they are aware that when I am playing with my particular play partner or bottom on this particular bench, they are aware that they do not interrupt by speaking loudly, by speaking to my bottom or my submissive while they're on this bench and playing with me and interacting with me. They are not allowed to come into the actual space. They need to understand that there is a personal space distance, a safe distance away from the bench, away from my arm's length. I may be in my swing length. I want to be able to express all of these different protocols and rules to the audience, as well as making aware that my bottom is aware of these particular protocols and rules as well too. They may have their own rules that they would like to express to the audience as well. For example, when I want complete silence, I don't want anybody to say anything. I may be okay with my audience maybe making noises like, oh my gosh, that looked like it hurt. Oh my gosh. That person may find those particular comments uncomfortable during their exchange with me. So they have a right to their autonomy and to who is experiencing the exchange alongside of them as well as myself. As a dom and a top and someone who was responsible for the scene, I also have to express to my bottom or submissive the orientation of this particular toy, material, furniture, whatever you want to call it. This is my spanking bitch. I call it a horse. I let everyone know before they get on this horse that this is cushion, this is vegan leather, this is real wood. It is very heavy. It is very sturdy. And how old it's been, how long I've had it, how long ago it's been made. So they are aware that I am aware and informed of the particular items that I'm using with them, on them, or what I'm using to have this exchange with them. I also let them know what particular items I'm going to be using on them. Before we actually get into the scene, I wanted them to test these particular items out. Being a sadist, it is really important that I know that I love the swing. I love to implement the pain, right? That's cool. but I also need to make sure and make my bottoms and partners aware of what these feel like and the degree of how painful they can get with my swing alone. I may not be as strong as a 350-pound muscular man, but understanding that my swing can give a very immense and intense impact. So understanding that I want them to know what this feels like. I want them to be able to practice it on their own body. I want them to be able to feel it on their own skin, inflict that particular pain levels on them, on themselves, or if they feel like if they're comfortable enough to just bend over and let me do a few taps. But I personally think that when you are trying to experience the pain thresholds of items that you are playing with, or someone is going to use on you, it is important for you to put them in your hand as a bottom, as a submissive, to know what they feel like, to orientate yourself with the material, to make sure that you are where it is still safe and it's sturdy to be able to be used on your body. Because you are responsible for your own autonomy. Let's get into sadism and aftercare. Now, after we've had such joy and pleasure alongside our pain with exploring on my bench here with my different items that my bottom/submissive they have been aware of toys that I've been using on them. They've been aware of all of these different things that we've been doing, right? Now the time has come for us to wind down the scene. I agreed to have I hypothetically agreed to have a 25 to 30 minute long session with my particular bottom. Now this time has come to an end. Once I get to about 20 minutes, that's when I'm really checking in. 15, 20 minutes I'm checking in, because sometimes we don't even get to the 30-minute round. We may sometimes cut it short. Sometimes they're like, I want more. When they want more, it's like music to my ears. But I also don't push, force, coerce, manipulate. I'm not pressuring anyone to experiencing more pleasure than they are able to handle. But I will ask certain questions once you say I want more, just to make sure that you are still consenting and you are coherent to what is going on around you. We can get into a subspace and we can fix our mouths to say, I want more. But our bodies won't actually allow us to receive more. So I want to make sure that I do check in. Checking in is massaging the particular areas that you were inflicting pain on. You're checking the temperature of those particular areas. Are they still red hot? Do they have welts on them, marks on them, bruisings? Also, those are things that the bottom and submissive need to understand that could possibly happen, which is why we have risk-aware consensual kink, RAC. It is important that our bottoms and our submissives are aware that potential markings could happen. If they do not consent to those markings, then that's when you need to understand what levels of pain and areas that you need to avoid, as well as areas that are available for you to participate in, play, and explore with. Once we've gotten into our wind down moment, we are now bringing forth those items that help bring us back to that neutralizing state. And those were the items that were previously discussed prior to Sane during the negotiation vetting process. We talked about, so usually after a scene, I like to have tea and have my stuffy and listen to jazz music while I'm laying down with a blanket. So since I know that, I need to have the tea ready. I need to have your stuffy beside you. I need to have your blanket ready. I also make sure that you have water, a towel. I give you extra items just to check in. Those are ways that I show that I care and show my compassion, as well as knowing that even though you are responsible for your own autonomy as a bottom/submissive, it is also my responsibility as top/dom to give and provide adequate love, affection, care, and aftercare after a scene, after inflicting pain. You know when a person is sweating, or you know when their body needs warmth or cuddles or hugs. You can see these things. You have to be aware and understand that. That's why it is important that everybody can't be in that space of attentiveness for their bottoms or their submissives. But it's important that when you do decide to choose to be in that position, that you are aware of what your submissive needs or your bottom requires during their aftercare process to help bring them back into that neutralizing space. Some items that you may have for your aftercare package or kits are first aid kits, water, tea, food, snacks, blankets, towels, pillows, music, frequency sounds, even meditation and breathing exercises, even stretching and yoga. Aftercare is specific to each individual, including your dom and your top. They require aftercare as well. And we have to make sure that everyone receives their aftercare. So we discuss the amount of time, the amount of details, the amount of resources or materials that are required for that particular individual to have an adequate aftercare process. A sexually sadistic lifestyle is not about bringing the aggression or malice out of people, but embracing what malice and aggression we already have deep within us. As I said earlier, we could suppress so much energy, whether it's sorrow, unhappiness, despair, aggression, anger, grief, like whatever. When we feel in these moments of suppression, being able to give ourselves the grace and the space and the vulnerability to relinquish and release with those that we trust and we have given that consent to have that exchange with, it can be an empowering experience. Coming from someone who has played on both spectrums, leaning more on the topping sadist side, I personally know that my experiences within the BDSM community when exploring my sadism has been thoroughly healing and not demonic, not violent, not inconsistent, not non-consensual, not predatory, any of those things. When we are exploring sadism, we're exploring parts of ourselves that we have deeply repressed and suppressed. And we are able to create safe spaces to be able to express that energy with someone we consented, that has consented that particular exchange with, that entrusts in us, or who entrusts in us. It's also good to note that, and it's important to note, that sadism does not have to be expressed or explored with just one partner. Instead of putting that energy into ways that aren't beneficial or healthy for you, we can put those energies into a much more productive, safe, sexy, and sensual way. Exploring and discovering different experiences with your other half or your play partner, your lover, your wife, husband, spouse, whoever, it is really important that we explore with trust and consent. I cannot reiterate that enough. You guys know how exhausting I can be with talking about consent and trust and transparency, because those are the foundational keys in being able to practice this lifestyle ethically. Even if your sadistic side is something that is unappealing or taboo or more unorthodox than the average kinks, don't subject yourself into repression and suppression. Don't subject yourself into demonizing or criminalizing something that you are into. As long as it's consensual and whoever is exploring with you, are aware of the risk and they are aware of your levels of experiences, as well as your safety protocols, your practices, and the foundation in which you are practicing, I say go for it. This is how we know that it's ethical. I love spanking. I love being a spanker. I love using my beautiful floggers. I love using my beautiful paddle. I love using my heavy hand to inflict pain on those who enjoy having pain inflicted on them, who enjoy receiving pain. I receive pleasure and arousal and stimulation, not even just sexually, mentally. I receive this particular energy as a source that fuels me and that gives me opportunity to be expressive in who I am in a safe and healthy way. It's important to note too as well, not everyone will be on the same level of sadism, sadomasochism that you are on. It's okay. Don't take it personal. Me as a sadist, I know that there are masochists that are way more heavier than what I can provide them. I also know that there are baby masochists. There are mini masochists. There are novice masochists. I know that there's a lot of different types of masochists out here, whether they are well experienced or heavy bottoms and they love heavy pain, or those who may not want as much pain but would like to receive it in different ways outside of just spanking. Some people like to receive pain from needle play, from electro play, from temperature play, from wax play, from bondage. We receive pain in our own ways. That's the beauty of BDSM and kink, is that it is so broad and diverse that you don't have to subject yourself to just a particular box or category. You can explore all these different things and find your niche, find what avenues and community aligns with who you are and your personality. So, happy kinking. Peace.